Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in our country over the past week or so. And as I normally say, Guyana is a dynamic place. We are a very fluid society, and in any given week, there are a number of new issues for discussion. I want to begin by saying good evening to all those persons who are joining us in Region 5 from Ahaika to West Coast Berbice. Good evening. For all those who are joining us on television at New Amsterdam, East Bank, Berbice, good evening. And for all of you who are joining us on television across the Quarantine Coast, good evening and welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our listeners and viewers on Freedom Radio, from Rob Street, Georgetown, we extend our warmest greetings. And last but not least, to our brothers and sisters who are joining us across Guyana, the Caribbean, the Europe, North America, and across the globe on Facebook Live, good evening and welcome to another program of Issues in the News. I want to take this opportunity to encourage you to press that share button on your Facebook account and Facebook page so that this program can be shared to your many friends. Once again, please press that share button on your Facebook account or Facebook page so that this program can be shared widely so that as many people as possible can participate in tonight's discussions. I want to begin by speaking about a very successful Essequibo cabinet outreach which was conducted by President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali and his cabinet right across the Essequibo coast, beginning from Supanam and ending way down the Pomeroon River. Every single village was visited. Every single community was touched by this cabinet outreach program. We promised the people during the elections campaign and even before that we will bring to the table a different style of government. That we will not sit in our air-conditioned offices in Georgetown and in our air-conditioned vehicles, but we will go into the communities right across the length and breadth of this country. We will meet with the people. We will interact with the people. We will inquire from them what their issues are. We will sit and listen and see what difficulties they are enduring. And we will endeavor to address those difficulties and those issues. We are going to interact individually as ministers, and we will do so also as a collective, as a government. And on the Essequibo coast, we have been interacting. Individual ministers have been on the coast from August 2020 non-stop. Almost every minister in the government. In fact, I dare say that every minister of the government has visited the Essequibo coast from August to now. And what we did over the weekend was that we went as a collective, the entire government unleashed itself along the coast into every village. And that initiative was led by the president. Quite apart from visiting all the communities, every single one of them, we also held several meetings with important sectoral groups like the farmers. We met also with the business community. We met also with the young people. We met also with women organizations. We met also with the vendors. We met also with the farmers on the Pomeroon River. So we met sectorally and we met in accordance with in the communities themselves. It was a massive endeavor, it was a massive undertaking, and the interaction and the result were phenomenal, were phenomenal. We got an opportunity to talk directly to the people, from the president right down. We got an opportunity to hear how the municipality at Anna Regina is not functioning. We got an opportunity to hear about the weaknesses and deficiencies in the Regional Democratic Council and its officers, and also their strengths. We got an opportunity to hear about the functioning of the NDCs, and we interacted with these important governance structure on the ground and tried to energize them, tried to inspire them, tried to rejuvenate them, and to make them more responsible to the people. Because in our absence, in the absence of the government, it is the local government structure that represents the government. And when they underperform or they ill perform, it reflects back badly on the government. And we had to ensure that we had frank and candid discussions with all those structures and put them face to face with the people as we attempt to trash out whatever differences that they had. Personally, I was in the riverine areas, in the lake areas of the Essequibo Coast, at Mainstay, Tapakoma, Lima Sands, and at Charity. I also visited some beautiful people at Perseverance, at Amandir, and I also interacted with His Excellency the President at Charity Secondary School, and I met with the businessmen along with His Excellency the President at Anna Regina. So it was a very engaging weekend, and we talked to thousands of people, thousands of residents, and we were able, importantly, we met Friday, and Saturday, whole day, and some ministers stayed back and continued the outreach on Sundays. Friday night, we met as a cabinet and we documented and discussed all the issues that were raised at the various meetings across the coast. We started that meeting at about 10 p.m. and we finished way into the morning hours, but we ensured that every single minister shared his or her experience in their individual outreach and brought to the table the important issues that would have been raised by the residents in those communities. And you know what? We started to find solutions that very night to the issues raised. And a decision was made that all the issues would be documented, placed on a huge sheet of paper, and the recommendations made by the cabinet and the solutions that would be pursued by the government are also to be listed on that paper in relation to the problem. And those papers are to be posted at conspicuous parts of the coast upon buildings to which the public have access, so that the public can read that the issues that they have raised were in fact addressed by His Excellency the President and his cabinet, and that actions are being taken even before we left the coast. That is the type of and style of governance that we promised, and I am proud to say that we are delivering. Significantly, some major issues were raised and addressed right there on the spot. And it was remarkable to see the entire government, led by His Excellency, the President, try to trash out issues that were immediately raised. For example, the residents raised the issue of an extra ferry or an additional boat to run that route between Parika and Supernam. And only yesterday, Minister of Public Works, Transport and Harbours Department, Bishop Juan Ejil, announced that another boat will be joining the schedule to assist with the crossings between Supernam and Parika. So that was a major issue for the people of Essequibo, an additional ferry to ply that route. And that was done yesterday, that was announced yesterday by Minister Bishop Ejil. Also, one of the important issues raised on the coast was the non-responsive nature of the police force to reports of crime and reports made generally to the police in relation to criminal conduct on the coast. The president's complaint, like in other parts of the country, that the police claim that they don't have vehicles. And immediately His Excellency engaged the private sector and offered duty-free and tax-free for vehicles to be donated by the private sector. And we got 12 such vehicles donated immediately from the private sector of the Essequibo coast. So the police received, or are to receive, 12 vehicles from the private sector on the Essequibo coast to fight crime. And of course, they will receive an additional 2 out of the 50 brand new vehicles which were handed over to the police. So in total, the police in Essequibo will be receiving 16 additional vehicles. 16 additional vehicles to help to enhance the capability of the Guyana Police Force, responsive ability in the region of Essequibo, region number 2 in particular. There were many, many other issues raised that we are continuing to work on as a government. Connectivity, a big issue. And we had to explain that we are currently in the process of liberalizing the telecommunication sector and paving the way for new entrants into the sector that will bring competition, that will breed efficiency, and that will bring down the rates of connectivity and the cost of connectivity. We are currently in the process of doing that, and the people of Essequibo will soon enjoy the benefits of that. A new competitor is in the market. The information is public. He or she doesn't have to depend upon the cable of GT&T. They have run their own cable. The GCell has their own cable. So we have now 3 major players in the market, and that will redound to the benefit of the consumers in the telecommunications sector. So the people on the Essequibo coast shall be getting good connectivity and quick internet in a very short space of time. The president also announced a $1.2 billion water treatment plant for charity. Water treatment plant, $1.2 billion for charity. The president also turned the sod for the construction of a 2 billion multi-specialty hospital at Saudi. At Saudi, a $2 billion specialty hospital will be constructed at Saudi. A brand new Deeds and Commercial Registry Authority will also be constructed at Saudi in the compound of the High Court. A new building that will house the Deeds and Commercial Registry Authority will be constructed at Saudi, and that will be in the compound of the Saudi High Court. And there were many, many other issues that were raised. Several villages will get expanded water supply and better water supply, including Lake Mainstay, as the residents explained that the well there has outgrown, the population has outgrown the well, and the well is now deteriorating. In any event, at Lima Sands, we were told that the well is giving brown water, and the president himself committed to have a new well commissioned in those areas. So I took the opportunity also to do a walkabout in the charity area and to talk with the farmers, to talk with the business people in that community, and to hear their concerns. And as expected, the interaction was great. I visited the site where a brand new police station is being constructed at Charity in the compound where the High Court is situated. So right across the coast, we saw the transformation that is taking place. When I stayed at a hotel, that was as modern as any other hotel, any part of the country. Air conditioned, hot and cold water, tile floors, fully furnished, all the modern amenities, elevator, a patio with a very, very nice breeze, a hotel in Essequibo having all those amenities. And the price is remarkably low, the rates that the hotel charges, and it's a brand new facility. I would have been the first person staying in that room that I stayed in, and all the other persons who stayed there also would have been the first persons staying in that hotel. It is located at Anna Regina, beautiful facility. I say that to say to you that Guyana is transforming before our eyes. I went to the beautiful Lake Mainstay and I spent some time there. Beautiful resort. The lake was beautiful, cool water, dark water. The place was so well kept. It was a very, very invigorating experience to be at all these locations, interacting with the beautiful people of our country. So listen out and you will see how many improvements have come from the singular engagement in this cabinet outreach over the weekend. And note, we did not skip a single village. We went to Dartmouth, we went to Anna Regina, we went to Queenstown, we went to Danielstown, we went to Good Hope, we went to Charity, we went to Supernam, we went to Pomona, we went to Lake Mainstay, we went to Tapakuma. Every single village was combed by us. I say that so that when you hear the discrimination charges come, you must be able to reject it out of hand. And Guyanese from all races turned out, much to the disappointment of a certain segment of our political leadership in this country. Guyanese from all races turned out and embraced the Irfan Ali cabinet as they executed their public outreach program. And this is the second outreach that we are doing. We did one in Linden, and let me repeat, we did one in Region 10, and the effect and the impact was equally spectacular. So we are moving across the length and breadth of this country, and there is no force that can stop us. No force that can stop us. So you will continue to hear about our successes in that outreach program. I want to move on now to speak a little about the commissioning of a $518 million landing system coupled with an extended runway at the Cherry Jagan International Airport last Sunday. Now, you know that we have had problems in Guyana historically with the length of our runway and the fact that we don't have modern equipment to carefully navigate airplanes if there is no clear sight and if their area is fogged. As a result, many aircrafts were forced to land, were forced not to land, and had to land to disembark passengers at different locations across the Caribbean. That hopefully will now come to an end as the government has invested heavily in the tune of $518 million to purchase the requisite equipment and to extend the runway so planes can now land safely and with great visibility, and hopefully will not have to be diverted to other airstrips and airports to land when the weather is not that clear. I also want to say with great pride and great happiness that Barama, the huge lumber business, is back in Guyana and is operational with $1 billion investment that it will make on its way to financial recovery. $1 billion Barama will be investing in Guyana. It is back. You will recall that Barama was one of the many companies that had to close its doors, and it said in 2017 or 2018 that it closed its doors because it cannot survive under the APNU AFC government and the atmosphere created by that government. And it laid off all its workers, or a large number of persons, in 2018. The company has already rehired 80 of those workers that it had laid off and will be hiring another 140 persons in the near future as it continues on its path to recovery. So Barama is back. It means that our loggers will now get back some markets that they have lost. Our loggers will continue to get markets. It means that Barama will go back to plywood manufacturing, and from what I read, they are producing a new and more superior type of plywood that would be able to withstand water. It would be able to withstand water. It's going to be waterproof or water resistant. So Barama is back. It means that Guyana is on the rise again. Barama is back. 80 people rehired, $1 billion to be invested, and 140 more persons will be joining the workforce. This is a company that closed its doors under the APNU AFC. I want to begin to speak a little on the COVID-19. The COVID-19 virus continues to wreak havoc across the length and breadth of our country. And the government continues to respond appropriately with measures that are required, measures that are necessary to meet the exigencies that are being created by this virus as it unleashes its vicious and fatal tentacles across the landscape of our country. I saw the minister said 35 persons. 35 persons have died recently. None of them have been vaccinated. I repeat, I saw in the papers, as you would have seen, 35 persons died, but they were not vaccinated. So I don't know what more proof persons want before they take the vaccines. They are dying. They are dying without the vaccines. As the Minister of Health pointed out, 36 fatalities over the past few weeks, over the past week, and they were all unvaccinated. The opposition, on the other hand, wants to use the measures that the government is imposing as a basis to shut down the country and to shut down the city. Let me pause here to make it abundantly clear that the measures that Guyana is implementing is no different from the measures that are being implemented across the globe, including the Caribbean region. The position that Guyana has taken is consistent with the positions taken across the globe, including the Caribbean. The measures that Guyana has adopted are similar to those that are promulgated and recommended by organizations such as the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organizations. That Guyana is doing nothing different from the rest of the world. That the measures that we have implemented are measures that can withstand constitutional and legal scrutiny from any court. That the measures that we have taken are authorized under the Public Health Ordinance and recognized by our Constitution. That our Constitution, while it guarantees rights and freedoms to the citizenry, it also limits and restricts those rights and freedoms if there is a pandemic, if there is a public health outbreak, if there is a pandemic of infectious disease. And all of those are now present. And our Constitution says that when the public is under such threat, the president and the state is authorized to regulate those freedoms, to curtail those freedoms, to restrict those freedoms in the public interest and in the public's welfare. Well, that is all that we have done in those measures. And the matters are in court. So I am happy. We will get a ruling from our court. And I have no doubt that I will be vindicated. Significantly, we had a ruling already from our court in 2020 when a student came from Canada and was quarantined at a facility at Madiwini. The matter went to the High Court. The guy claimed that he was being falsely imprisoned, that his freedom of movement was taken away, that his right to liberty was taken away, that he was subjected to cruel and inhuman treatment. And the Guyana High Court and the Guyana Full Court adjudicated upon that matter and held that the COVID guidelines at that time, and they are very similar to what they are now. They were very similar to what they are now. And the courts, both the High Court and the Full Court, ruled that the measures did not constitute a violation of the Constitution, did not abridge the applicants' rights and freedoms, and were necessary in the circumstances of a global pandemic. So we are not worried about the opposition, but we simply want to highlight the fact that rather than sit with us at a table, rather than help us get the country vaccinated, they are using in a most diabolical way this national disaster, this global pandemic to create division in our country and to create divisiveness in our society. That is what they are doing. They are calling for shutting down of the court, the business, and shutting down of the city. Well, you know what? Every day, people are witnessing how futile their attempts are and how useless they have become. People are no longer bothering with them. They are calling strikes and no one turning out in large numbers. Everything that they try to do, they are abysmally failing, one attempt after another. You know why? Because people do not trust them anymore. They have lost all credibility. They behave in retarded manner. They behave like children. They behave, sometimes their behavior is indescribable. Indescribable. So they begun today and over the past few days to launch this attack on Minister Manik Chand. And it started a few days ago and it has intensified. And you know, the very women who love to jump up and talk about women's rights and women's equal status in society are the ones who are leading the charge. The women are leading the charge in their attack against Manik Chand. And the women have among them persons that we are no longer clear where they stand, like Sherrod Duncan. He, I understand, made a song about Minister Manik Chand. And that is the level to which they are stooping. Making song about people, commenting how people look, commenting how people hair is, how people dress. I saw one time they were commenting that the president wore a shirt twice. Well, I have worn this shirt perhaps 10 times or more because I like it. It's my shirt. Nobody buy it for me. Why is this subject of a conversation? But when these people, they have nothing of substance to say. And I am going to continuously preach to the Guyanese people that these people are unworthy to lead any segment of our population. And I will continue to say that. I always say that we need a vibrant opposition, that I will respect the rights of members of the opposition to criticize the government, that I will try to work with an opposition that has ideas that can help me to deliver more to the people of Guyana. But I am not going to work with these nincompoops. I am not going to work with these known entities. Look at what they are doing. Look at their behavior. I speak at length to them in the parliament. You would have heard me. I plead with them to read before they come to do the people's business. They don't read. They don't understand anything. But they like retards running and shouting at people and laughing people and commenting in the way people dress, etc., etc. That kind of behavior is unbecoming of members of parliament and leaders of our society. Our people, Guyanese, deserve a better caliber of leaders. A better caliber of leaders. So I want to take this opportunity to join with those who have already issued words of condemnation against MacDonald, against Duncan, and all the rabble-rousers who have attacked Minister Manikchand, and to say that you are coward. Engage Manikchand on issues. You want to debate the COVID measure? Why are you attacking Manikchand personally? Manikchand did not even draft the COVID measure. The COVID measure came out of a collective decision of the cabinet. And it was drawn at the Attorney General chambers. It's a collective decision. It's not a decision of a singular minister. So why are you singling out a person, a singular minister? And that is, so all they can do is speak about people's personal issues, attack people personally, and not deal with the issues at hand. I don't know how long the people of Guyana will continue to tolerate these persons. But I can see, and I am happy what I am seeing, that their influences are reducing significantly day by day. That their popularity is declining. That persons do not listen to them anymore. And we have to hope that that continues until they are rendered completely irrelevant. They are very, very close to that position. Last Saturday, I read in the newspapers a very weird letter from Annette Ferguson, Member of Parliament, APNU/AFC. And Miss Ferguson, I read the letter, and Miss Ferguson seemed to be calling upon the Chief Justice and the other judges of the High Court to note that she has not been served with certain proceedings I filed against her. I read the letter about 3 times to understand what is it that Ferguson is really writing about. In all the several paragraphs, 4 sentences make sense. One, and it is those 4 sentences to which I replied. In one sentence, she says that she wants the judiciary to know that she has not been served. But in my reply, I asked the judiciary to please take note. Secondly, she says that I know her address. I don't know her address. And thirdly, she says that she has been in the parliament several times with me, and I have seen her, yet I did not serve her the papers. Those are the 3 sentences that I pulled out of the long letter, and that's the only 3 sentences that I believe were worthy of a response, and I responded. I said, firstly, I hope that the Honorable Chief Justice and those whom she wished to know that she was not served, that they know. Secondly, I stated that it is only after I read her letter, then I know that the papers were not served at her. I'm a very, very busy person, as you would expect. So I gave my lawyers the instructions to serve the paper. I never knew that they were not served. It's only when she wrote But then I called my lawyer, and lo and behold, a different story was told to me. I was told that the marshals of the High Court tried 7 times to serve Miss Ferguson. They tried at a North Road address opposite Bakewell, which is the address that is on the voters list, and it is the address that is on the parliamentary documents. They went there on a number of occasions, and a person, a female who lives there, says that there is no Annette Ferguson living there. Why would a marshal lie? Why would a marshal of the High Court lie? That is what the marshal has reported to my lawyer after several attempts to serve at that address. The marshals also went to a house somewhere in West Rumvelt, where they were told that Miss Ferguson lives. They turned up in West Rumvelt on more than one occasion, and again, there was no one there. They then went to another house at Eccles on the east bank of the Demerara, a house that the marshals were informed that she owns. And yet, she was not there. The house was always locked up, according to the marshals. So I outlined that in the letter, and I invited Miss Ferguson to go to the High Court and pick up the papers if she so badly wants to be served. She can go there and pick up the papers. Her lawyers would have advised that that is a possibility. I don't know what she will do. And in relation to the Parliament, well, obviously, Miss Ferguson would not know the provisions of the Constitution, but there's a constitutional provision that prohibits the service of any legal process upon a member of Parliament while Parliament is in session in the precincts of the Parliament. You can't serve nobody once Parliament is in session. So she doesn't know that. So she was writing in the newspapers, why don't I come at Parliament and serve her? Because I'm seeing her there. So I had to point out in the newspapers that I can't serve her in Parliament because it's unlawful to do so in accordance with the Constitution. So another issue that I want to talk about is a case that was filed by Mr. Roysdale Ford, who obviously wants to upstage his predecessor, Mr. Basil Williams. You know, Basil Williams was the big lawyer in the APNU PNC. Roysdale Ford, now senior counsel, wants to stand in Mr. Williams' shoes. Well, you will judge whether he fits into those shoes or not. So he has been filing one case after another, and one of the cases that he filed had to do with questioning the amendments that we passed to the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act. We had amended the Act to correct some deficiencies that they put in the Act when they were in government, which allowed for a number of constitutional agencies to present their own budget to the Parliament. Which part of the world agencies of the state can go and present their own budget to the Parliament? Like the judiciary and the DPP and all these agencies, these constitutional agencies. These guys put it in the law that these people must come and present their budget in the Parliament. These people are not elected to the Parliament. They don't have a seat in the Parliament. How can they participate in parliamentary process? And that is the foolishness that they put in the legislation. So when we got back into government, obviously, we changed it. And Mr. Ford wants to challenge that. So he filed legal proceedings and he wanted a whole set of orders from Justice Harnanan in relation to the 2021 budget. And he wanted these in an interlocutory application. Mr. Harnanan, Justice Harnanan, refused them. Refused them. And he then went to the full court. He went to the full court, to Justices Reynolds and Justice Kissoon, Brassington Reynolds and Sandil Kissoon. And he repeated those arguments. And you know who is, and the full court dismissed his appeal. Again, dismissed his appeal. And he was representing Ganesh Mahipal, Coretta MacDonald, the Teachers Union, Paul Slow, and the Police Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, and a whole set of persons. And Royzell Ford was joined by Darren Wade, Raphael Trotman, Kemraj Ramjatan, Geeta Chandan, a whole bharyat of lawyers. And the appeal was thrown out by the full court on Friday, and we are awaiting the substantive matter to come up, which is with Justice Harnanan. So that took place, and we are awaiting the ruling from Justice Harnanan. But the full court dismissed the appeal against the decision filed against the decision of Harnanan to dismiss their interlocutory applications. Today we also filed proceedings, or rather submissions, in the COVID-19 matter. You will recall that Coretta MacDonald, some lady named Gardner, Lincoln Lewis, the Trade Union Congress, the Teachers' Union, and the Public Service Union have all joined hands, and they want to stop the COVID measures. They want to injunct the state from imposing those COVID measures. In other words, they want the state to do nothing in the face of a global pandemic, so that all of us, I suppose, can die like sitting ducks. Today, I made my submissions in writing to the judge. Beautiful submissions, if I may say so myself, outlining the law that you cannot get an injunction against the state, that a conservatory order is the remedy to be granted against the state, not an injunction. And a conservatory order is something to preserve the status quo. It is not an injunction. And you can't mask a conservatory order, and what is there is really an injunction. You can't do that. The law is very clear. The State Liability and Proceedings Act says that you can't get a coercive or a prohibitory order against the state. You can't. And that is what they are seeking. The court has developed something called a conservatory order. But that conservatory order is a preservatory order. So applying, for example, for a conservatory order, now all that will do is to preserve the status quo. That is to say, preserve the measures. You can't stop the measures. To stop the measures would be an injunction. and that is not grantable against the state. If you want to preserve the measures, you can get a conservatory order, but they have asked for an injunction. So those submissions have been made and are with the judge now, and on Friday coming, we will present those submissions and hopefully we get a ruling on whether the state can be injuncted and prevented from imposing the measures which the state has chosen to impose. That is what we will hear on Friday. Of course, after we dispose of that issue, then we will deal with the substantive matter. And the substantive matter has to do with whether the COVID measures violate the Constitution. So I want to get out that preliminary issue and let us go head on into battle, because I want to find out myself. I want the court to tell me that those measures are violative of the Constitution. When the Constitution says that if there is an outbreak of an infectious disease, if there is a public pandemic, if there is a medical epidemic, then the president can, the state can issue orders that can have the effect of restricting fundamental rights and freedoms for the public good. Because no right is absolute. No freedom is absolute. Your freedom is dependent upon my freedom. There must be a peaceful coexistence. There must be a balancing of competing interests between different persons' freedom in a society. And that is what is called civilization. When that balance can't be struck, then that society descends into anarchy. It descends into anarchy. Thank you very much. This is where I have to say goodbye. My operator is signaling to me that I've come to program time. I want to thank you very much for spending the last 55 minutes with me. I believe we have covered a number of areas. I believe we have discussed a number of issues. And please, COVID is with us. It is wreaking havoc among our population and your population, wherever you are residing. So please let us be careful, let us be cautious, let us take all the precautionary measures, let us stay vigilant, let us stay healthy, and until I see you again next week, good evening and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you very much and have a blessed week. Thank you.